Today on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, I get to interview Ben Hunt. So that's what we're delivering today. Hope you have fun. Good day to you. Roland here from MinMax Media, bringing you the DIY live streaming show, Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. And today, I get to do something I've been looking forward to almost a month now, and we are going to be interviewing Mr. Ben Hunt. Before we do that, though, my comment wrangler is Tim Longwell. And Tim, why don't you turn your mic on, say hi, and tell us how the weather is in your neck of the woods.
Hi, everyone. Tim Longwell. Longwell Art, and pretty good here. I'm far enough away from the Gulf Coast that even if it does come inland, we might get some interesting weather depending on where the hurricanes are. Our care and concern goes out, and best wishes for those that are in the areas of concern with the hurricane. And we hope everyone enjoys the show.
Thank you, Tim. And that was well put. Molly, one of our regular constituents during the years, lives in Florida. So she's out doing a lot of chores preparing to combat the hurricane. And she was oftentimes on the show as one of the co-hosts, and spent a lot of time with me here from about almost 3 years ago. So hope she's doing well, and we'll see you again soon. We're going to move right to this subject here. Sometimes I rant and rave about subject lines in emails and various catchphrases that people are using, but I don't want to do that today because our subject is in content creation, in content management, and in telling the honest truth. And for that, we're bringing on Ben Hunt. And Ben, would you come on board, please? Say hi and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, Roland. Hi, Tim. Really happy. I started out doing web design in 1994, so I've been doing it a long time. And I've been through, it's been a long road. When I started out, usability was a big thing, and we were all passionate about that. And then SEO happened, and so I got stuck into that. And then conversion rate optimization was another big thing. But ultimately, at the end, it's all marketing. It's all to do with, getting your message in front of the right people and persuading them that what you want them to do is also what they want to do. And I think that over the years, the more I've explored and taught and learned and listened and experienced about marketing, I think I've just kind of boiled it down to really the big difference between the biggest difference between success and failure doesn't come down to tactics and tricks and shortcuts and stuff like that. It comes down to, do people really want what you want to sell, right? Do they want to do the thing you want them to do? And so, the more I've thought about marketing, it comes down to this connection with people. It's about real people. It's about real relationships. And look, if what you're trying to do, what you're trying to sell sucks and people don't want it, then no marketing tricks or techniques or power words and shortcuts is going to save you, right? And at the same time, if you're offering something that's awesome, that's true for you, and really solves a real problem for real people, then you've got the wind behind you already, and then you still don't need the marketing tricks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think for me, everything finally comes down more and more to integrity and doing something awesome and being something awesome, and finding what it is that you really love to do, and finding the people that you really love to do it for. And Roland, when I was, your bio on your website talks about the love that you have for marketing and for video and for sharing information with people, and that comes across, and that's why you show up on Saturday mornings,
Well,
and
thank you very much. You wrapped it up and said the mouthful of the things that I've been delivering with this program for a consistent almost 3 years. Come December, it's going to be 3 years. And the concept of giving, and actual giving, not giving to get, is very, very clear for me. Because if you have a plan on receiving some kind of reciprocal receipt from your giving, that's not giving anymore. So I have entire shows based on the concept of what real giving is, and try to get to the heart of the whole matter. So when I read through your stuff, you emulate the very same type of principles that I find are very important, that I hold dear. And one of them is that simply is a law of the land, as a principle. Do what you love, and eventually you get paid for it. You've got to do what you love. And somehow, even if you don't see how you can make money at it, if you're doing what you love, it's going to expand into something profitable, because somebody else needs encouragement and help in the very same thing that you love. There are too many people in this world not to be able to connect with the right people to make your work beneficial to more than just yourself.
yeah.
So I'm really behind your concept there. And I've been looking forward to this so long, I don't even know what to ask you now. So let me go back to my notes here. And because it's very important. The reason that I found you, and we'll brush on this briefly, because when we were in the green room, we were talking about authenticity, and we were talking about representation, and we blended over into advertising. And there were people that I have called out on this show, and I've said, look, if I'm wrong, come on into the comment stream, or I'll bring you into the green room and we'll ask you face to face. I'll let you comment, on what I'm saying. We'll talk it out right here and now in my green room. And no one's taken me up on it, but I'm open for the concept of, if you disagree, let's hear your point of view. And I basically have identified people in the similar perspective. Then the word always comes into play when I have a problem with it, and that is people are being deceived. There's deception going on. It's misleading. It's implying that this is something that's going away and you really need this thing. What the whole art of marketing is to try selling people to pay, and for them to pay too much for something that they don't need in the first place. That's what marketing does nowadays. And I hold that 80% of what we find on the internet is bullshit anyway. It's just the smaller percentage of things that really matter. Do you feel similarly about that?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I whenever we talk about this, I have Tyler Durden from Fight Club going around my head. He says, he says, advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need.
Well put.
And it's very true. The thing is, right, marketing is a tool, right? It's a tool for influence and for persuasion and for spreading a message. Okay. Now, just like, alcohol or, drugs like cocaine, you take somebody and, somebody's a bottom down, a nice, loving, giving, warm person, and you get them drunk and they'll still be a nice, warm, loving, giving, drunk person, right? If someone's a dick to start with, then he's going to be a drunk dick, So it's like, marketing per se isn't any morally or ethically any different to any other form of communication. It is just fundamentally, it's a bundle of communication channels. That's what marketing is, and techniques and stuff. It comes down to how you use it. It comes down to the intent. And I think you're right. I think that at least 80% of it is bullshit. But what bothers me is that too many people seem to accept that online marketing has gone to the dogs. We accept that very few people will tell you the truth. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's no different to market traders in markets for thousands of years who are just trying to get you to put your hand in your pocket. And maybe that's okay. For me personally, it's not okay. So yeah, when I see things in my inbox that I think are disingenuous or untruthful, I'm not afraid to write about that stuff. And it's interesting how few people are prepared to talk about those issues and really face up to it. I was talking to somebody, I'm not going to name names, but talking to a person who I consider the godfather of internet marketing in many ways. And he said, it's probably not a good idea to call out these guys. Maybe what you should be doing is just, do good practice yourself and, take the moral high ground and let that be a beacon for people. But, and I have got into trouble. There is, I have somebody right now threatening to take me to court over loss of earnings because I said I thought that he was lying in his marketing. And I don't know.
Well, your point is well taken.
They do come down hard on you. There's a lot of people making a lot of money with a particular set of techniques, and I think that a lot of it comes down to product launch formula. It comes down to Jeff Walker, and all I want to do, right, if in marketing terms, really these days is champion marketing with integrity. So marketing from your heart, and connecting with the right kind of people. And if I can make any kind of impact on the more dubious, the gray area where people think, oh, it's a white lie. It's a white lie. It's not, well, it's not. It's gray. There's no white lies. It's gray. That's a gray area. If I can make any impact on that, I'll be happy.
That is well put. And I think that there's too much of this. The people in the consumer end and the social media and in the user end, they are used to this new tenor of deception, and it's pretty much accepted. And yet there's also the factor that, like in social media, for instance, they say that 80% of the advertising is rejected outright. People don't like ads anymore because of the market the way it is. They just say all the advertising is junk because they feed us nothing but junk. And the other thing is that if something's overproduced or produced by a company, they consider it propaganda. They don't necessarily trust the product. They're going to ask their friends about the product or something else. But if it's something's produced by a company, it's right across the board. It's screened from a standpoint of propaganda, and people don't believe it outright. It used to be that the advertising was much more clear cut, and today some of the negative strategies or the so-called black hat strategies have become really fine-tuned, and it's hard to distinguish. But you're right, the foolproof formula of sales strategy is something that has been repeated so many times, I'd recognize it in my sleep.
Yeah.
And to me, when I see a sales page, it's like, there it is again. So often.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it does make me wonder what the long-term benefit is. I'd love to see a study that says that people who burn their clients, end up paying for it. And honestly, I don't know if that's true. It would be great if it was, but the thing is, there's a lot of human beings out there with credit cards. But I do see some hope, and I do see I see videos of marketers who are genuinely now seem to be in the business of building longer term relationships with their clients. And yes, they're trying to move them up the stack, up the food chain of, now you can join my inner circle. And the latest thing is coaching. Have you seen how many internet marketers are now selling coaching programs?
Well, I mean, they basically are saying that you can sell all kinds of products if you just have a coaching program. So first of all, say that you have a coaching program, and then I'll show you how to set one up. It's like, I don't know how to coach anybody, but you're going to teach me how to sell coaching, and then you're going to help me set up a coaching. Great, And it's like you fall into something because you see a money opportunity, not because you have something that you want to deliver to the people that you know and you are good at and have any skills, but it's because it's a money-making opportunity. That's how all the people in history have risen to the prime of their incompetence, by going after this kind of an opportunity, but not doing what they love.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was going to ask a while back, and I almost forgot, but with all the discrepancies that maybe you and I and a small handful of people see, as far as the 80-20 percentage of the rough percentage of the BS in the world and the internet versus the stuff that's real, honest to goodness, truthful, is maybe that's setting us up for you and me and people like us for an opportunity to stand out, just because we can't automatically fit into those ranks. We have no choice but to stand out. What do you think of that?
Do you know, in my heart tells me that staying true to who you are will work in the long run. You said it earlier on. You said, do what you love, put it out there, be authentic, and you'll get paid. You don't know how, but you will. And I think we are realizing, as a human race, we are realizing that life does not fit very well into the reductionist enlightenment model. So, last 200-300 years, we've been working in a reductionist system where you analyze the reality and you break it down into things that you can measure. And it's given us amazing things. It's given us, loads of science and technology and all this cool stuff that we've got, but it fails to, it doesn't address stuff that's too complex for it to understand. So, ecosystems are just no, science doesn't, it can only, touch the surface of ecology and the massively complex interrelationships between things. And that's one of the reasons why we've ended up with the big environmental disasters that we are now seeing on a day-to-day basis. But I'm not going to get, on my soapbox about all that kind of stuff. But I think that when, if you believe that life is fundamentally intelligent, or the universe, whatever, without going too far into, karma, or, you mentioned the law of attraction earlier on, before we came on air, without getting too much into that stuff, it's like a truth that I can't prove it, but I think that if you be yourself, and if you have integrity, then you will create relationships out there that do stand the test of time. Okay, here's a case in point. I ran a course, I think last year, for a bunch of people, and there were maybe 20 people on the course. And I said, just out of interest, because we were talking about this, we were talking about how a flower releases its scent into the air. It doesn't expect payback for releasing its scent into the air. It doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have the bees lining up saying, yes, I will pay the price of entry to receive the nectar that you are advertising. No, the flower just goes la la and releases its wonderful scent into the air, trusting that the pollinators will come and whatever, you know. And that's how life works. That's how nature works. It gives abundantly and doesn't count the cost of that. And so I said to this group of people on this course, I said, you know, I haven't got ongoing relationships with many of you. So tell me how did you find me? And it was amazing, because there were some people who said, oh, I listened to a podcast. You did an interview with this guy or that guy a few weeks ago. And some, you know, other people said, I've been on your mailing list for 4 years, and, you know, and I've never seen their name before, because I see them, you know, if I put out a book for sale or something, and I see the same names kind of coming up. Some people buy all your stuff when you have something to sell. But there were people who've been lurking on my list for years, and they're my people. You know, it's like, wow, you're my tribe. And when we get on the calls, the coaching calls for this course, we'd be like, I feel like I've known you for ages. And you know, you cannot effectively measure the good that you do in the world, and you cannot draw a line between the actions that you do and the good things that come back to you. So, you know, I say, don't bother, just do the good things anyway.
Very well put. And just the whole analogy with the nature and the flower and so forth is just perfect, because if we really want to be as effective as we can be, we want to be in the flow of what's going on, the flow of nature, and that this is all encompassing. It's not just here's how you get into the flow. You are already in the flow. It's just a matter of how much good you want to contribute to that flow, and that determines your vibration, and what your results are depend upon that vibration. Tim has a little something that he's bringing. Let's see what he's got.
A lot of activity from the audience today. We have with us Barbara Quick, Isaac Longwell. I'm going to say this wrong, I know it, and forgive me, Tomas. Tomislav, Stemenovsky, Barbara DeLucio, and Wewek. And I always say his name wrong, so I'll be nice and not butcher it for him.
Wewek. Yeah, that's a tough one. We call him Wewek.
Susan Schlief is also here, and she says, yes, it's true that people that don't like the ads, but it's also true that some video ads still get thousands and thousands of views on Facebook just because they are fun, interesting, and a keyword that I like is engaging short videos.
Yes. And as long as people get a reaction out of it, they'll continue to exploit that and lean on it pretty much. And, you know, that's the way advertising is. I can't blame them. But the abuse of that is in the intention of the producers of the video, and which we won't get into today. One more, Tim?
A couple more. We would quote Simon Sinek about people buy why you do what you do. And I'll add to that, not how you do what you do, or what it is you have. He's, which is something. And then Bill Graham says he agrees with Ben that to highlight a system that is in your opinion is wrong, that is fine by me, but to call people out and label them just seems wrong to him. We all have our opinions about how things should be done, but that doesn't make us right and them wrong.
Well, I'll respond to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll respond to that if you won't, but I'll give you the first crack at that.
Okay, it doesn't make us right and them wrong, absolutely. You know, and I think that, you know, for any of us to come out and say, to label anyone else as right or wrong is pointless ultimately anyway, because all you're going to do is get people's backs up. Look, I mean, I'll come out and say, I think this guy lied, right? When you claim that your server crashed on the last day of your launch, I call bullshit, and that's okay. as long as I'm saying it's me that's doing it, as long as I own my position on it and say, look, this is me. This is one guy that thinks this. But the great thing is that you know, I've written these posts when I've talked about this stuff, and the comments will go into the hundreds sometimes of people saying thank you for calling this stuff out, because no one's talking about it. It's like we are, you know, we're afraid in some way to have an open conversation about, you know, what we want to see or don't want to see in marketing. And it's, yeah, I agree with was it Roland, you know,
Bill.
Sorry, Bill Graham. It's not about attacking the person, right? It's about the behavior. It's about the methods, and that's what I want to change. I don't want to bring anyone down specifically, personally, but unless you mention, unless you put the specifics in, it's not going to be effective, you know. And it's you know, I don't like it. I don't like writing about dirty stuff that you know, that is unpleasant to me, but I'll do it. I'll keep doing it.
I agree with you totally, Ben. And I've gotten myself into some conversational trouble for the very same reasons as you describe. And people saying you shouldn't name people and you shouldn't point your fingers and stuff. But the way I feel about it, like, if you're going to write this stuff, if you're going to do this stuff, you are subject to scrutiny. And if I like what you're doing, I'm as likely to shout it out, say, hey, I really like what so-and-so doing. I like what Susan Joy Schlief is doing. I like what Vivek is producing. I like this stuff. I'll shout out for you. But if you're doing something that I think deceives or hurts people, I'm definitely going to say that too. And if it's not accurate, I would give you perfect license to come and tell me live or contact me and we'll discuss it. Always open to. I'm not looking for fights. I'm looking for clarity on the message delivered. Let's see what else Tim's got going here.
And this kind of ties in with the conversation here and adds a viewpoint that fits the way you've been covering it. Is Weg says that he agrees with Bill point in pointing out the follies in others because that creates negativity. Why create negativity? On my tongue today. If one does what one is passionate about for the right reason, then a positive circle is created.
I don't disagree with that, but the final wrap, and then we'll move on because our time is getting away and we're half done with this hour. But if we see something that is wrong, I mean that we feel is wrong. If I see something that I feel is wrong and I don't speak up about it, I feel like I'm doing my constituents, the people who listen to everything else that I preach or teach or talk about, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice. Just to let them go and be deceived by this thing is like, yeah, try it out, waste your money. I mean, it boils down to just about that. And there's time and time again, I've talked people out of memberships and things that they're going to spend their money on. And my answer to them 80% of the time is, I wouldn't do it. Don't waste your time because of whatever the alternative is. And the alternative is usually learning better and educating yourself so you realize that you don't need this thing. And the fact of the matter is they're selling you yesterday's news or something that's you're being deceived, or something is obsolete and ineffective or inaccurate. And that's the stuff that I can't stand by. And if people want to do that, and I feel that either they don't know better or they do know better and they're not doing anything about it, I will very likely call them out, very possibly mention them by name. And I have no qualms about doing that. Am I going to raise the banner and fight that war? No, because I'm more inclined to show people that's the contrast of what you should not be doing. Now let's talk about what you can do that will be the better, the counterpart to that whole the negativity issue. So I'd rather guide in the other way.
Yeah, if I could just add something to that, I think there's a definite kind of mood in the part of the kind of new age mindset that says, don't go into the negativity thing because it'll pull you down or lower your vibration or attract more negativity or whatever. But if I look back, I mean, I look back at my tradition. So in the New Testament, Jesus went into the temple and drove the money changers from the temple because they were doing something sacrilegious, that as the story goes. And he reserved his main criticism in his whole ministry was about hypocrisy, about people who were saying one thing and acting a different way. And that's who he had the most scorn for. I also believe that it's almost like walking down the street and you see some trash on your street, and how different is it to step over a piece of trash that somebody else has dropped than dropping it in the first place? I mean, I like picking up trash. My friend Simon has got this thing called 5 Things Clear, where you go out, every time you go out, you try and pick up 5 things that don't need to be there. And if we all did that, then there'd be a lot less plastic in the ocean, stuff like that. But stepping over the trash is not fundamentally different to dropping it in the first place. You're still leaving it there if you've seen it, right? So, and also there's a really interesting book called Drinking Molotov Cocktails with Gandhi by a guy called Mark Boyle, who says that we live in this world where we're so kind of disassociated from the impact of what we do and the choices that we make, that we're actually complicit in an awful lot of like ecological violence. So violence against native peoples, against the living world and stuff like that. But because we're not actually pulling the trigger, we don't feel like we're responsible in any way. Well, we're just driving our cars and doing our jobs and keeping our heads down. But what he argues is that actually the only appropriate response is a kind of violent revolutionary response to this situation, which if you step back far enough and look at it, looks absolutely insane. And I, that's kind of how I feel about dishonesty in marketing. I think that just to bow your head and walk by and pretend you haven't seen it is it makes you complicit in it.
I agree totally. And I wanted to back up a step too. We talked about Jesus and the temple and the concept involved there. I've been studying on that actually in particular, and it isn't so much that Jesus grabbed a whip and started whacking on the merchants. That's not exactly what he did. He went in very peacefully and herded out the animals in the temple. And when the animals started moving out of the temple, the owners had to go too. And so, but he also had a personal attitude towards the merchants themselves and the money changers and stuff. But I mean, they make it sound like he went in there with the whip flying and beat people up and kicked them out of the temple. And that's a wrongful depiction. He addressed the subject of what was happening that he disagreed with by demonstrating what he wanted the result to be. And he did it as peacefully as he could. So he went in spreading positive energy and positive influence, and yet he get the job done, countering a very, very intense negative in his world. And that's more the way I see myself. When I raise a whip to somebody, it might be a little bit more edgy than some people would feel comfortable with, but somebody's got to bring it out so that we can see the difference between what is being done that we can disagree with and what the alternatives are to achieve a better outcome and something you can live with a lot better. So I really appreciate that you brought up that story, and thank you for that. Tim, what do you have there?
Susan Schleif says, making a comment about the analogy of the flowers earlier, that the flowers don't have to worry about advertising because it's built into the design of nature. Flowers definitely do advertise to attract the pollinators, and both parties receive a benefit from that interaction, just like good ethical marketing for products and services that really help people.
Right. And there's a symbiosis if you get the right intention of what you're doing, everything's going to work out okay. You know, we don't have to try to get one extra purchase or sell a few extra pieces of something or get the ROI percentages up. We just have to keep on providing the service that benefits the right people.
Yeah, and give. I heard in a seminar, conversion summit a few years ago, a guy said, and I forget his name, I'm very bad with names, and he said, always be the first to give and the last to give. And we've touched on this, that it's built into human psychology that if you receive a gift from somebody, it's in Cialdini's book, Influence. You know, it's one of those things. Somebody gives you something, you feel a kind of, you know, obligation to give back. But I think that making giving stuff away part of what you do, part of your marketing, is actually really, really important. And I've got this concept I use called the stack, which is like, you imagine that your whole kind of range of offerings is like a pyramid with your high priced, low volume stuff at the top. And then down at the bottom, so you've got like consulting and then coaching clients and then groups that you work with and then, you know, products that people buy where your time isn't directly involved and stuff. And then at the bottom, you've got the DIY free stuff. And this is the stuff that you give out to everybody. So, you know, people, I give away every ebook that I've ever written now on my website. I can't give out Convert because it was published by Wiley, and I don't have the rights to give it away, but I would do. And here's the thing: people often think, okay, well, look, if I give away my knowledge, then won't people just take it and run with it? I'm like, yeah, some of the time they will. But those people who do that weren't ever going to buy from you in the first place, right? But the people who follow your lessons, watch your YouTube videos, download your ebook, do your free course, and go away and practice it themselves, right? If it wasn't you, they'd have done it they've got the information from someone else. But here's the thing: in a few years' time, they'd be in a different job, and suddenly there's urgency and budget and need, right, all at the same time. And they'll think, oh, we need something. This happened to me. Guys phoned me up about 18 months ago, out of the blue, said, we want you to redo our marketing. And I said, oh, that's great. How did you find me? Oh, well, you know, Kurt read your book, Convert, and we thought, like, let's not, you know, try and apply this. Get that guy. Get the guy who wrote the book, right? So they got a $20 book, and that then led to, you know, significant business years later. So all I did was write the book, right? And if the book had been free, the same effect would have happened. So it's not about, if I do this, what am I going to get back directly? We just have to let go of that, because, you know, in the stack, there's whole different levels of where people are at in their relationship to what you offer, right? So, you know, there are people who say, I want to master this. I'm doing this at the moment. I'm teaching myself bushcraft, right? So I'm teaching myself things like how to light a fire with rubbing sticks together, and I'm making cordage out of stinging nettles and making baskets, right? Just, I want to do that stuff. And I'm not going to pay for a course to do it because it's all on YouTube. You know, YouTube, the world's second biggest search engine. You know, I'm going on there, I'm educating myself, right? There's so much free stuff out there. And the people who are determined to learn it for free because they've got the time, but not the budget or inclination to pay, right? They're going to find it for free. If you don't give it to them, someone else will give it to them. And then that's somebody else who's got that place in their mind and you haven't. So by, you know, by holding on to your information and guarding it jealously, unless somebody's going to pay you, I think is my experience tells me it's counterproductive in the long run. But one thing that really does get my goat is people who say, you know, when you get the video sales letter sequence, right, the sideways sales letter, and say, you know, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I did to generate 7 figures of business from blah, blah, blah. And then when you watch the video, it's, you know, an hour long and 45 minutes are a pitch for the eventual product. And they're only very roughly sketching out what they did. And they tell you that I'm going to tell you exactly, and they don't tell you exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I hate it. The example you make very clear in your notes that I've gotten from you. Basically, you can't duplicate a strategy and count on it working. A strategy is something to follow and mold your own thing, and you call yourself a marketing strategist. I really appreciate that, because I don't know what to call myself, because one thing I was clear on is, like, I wrote an article about 6 months ago, and I said I can no longer call myself an internet marketer. I just don't like the association with the whole concept of internet marketing. And so I took up the veil of I'm not an internet marketer. I guess I'll just have to be an educator, and I'll leave it at that. Let's take a short break here, see what Tim's bringing.
Yes, Kathy Pop says that giving for the sake of giving raises our serotonin, and it also includes those seeing the good deed. So there are actually health benefits as well for being a person with those high ethics and willing to give your best for free.
Hear, hear, Kathy Pop. I mean, people think when they talk about doing good deeds in marketing and giving away and offering and freebies, they don't think about the fact that it is actually a very healthy thing to be positive and to do good for others. It is a healthy thing, and that's all in tune with the whole nature of the whole universe thing. So thank you for bringing that up, Kathy. And by the way, thank you for being here. I haven't seen you for a while, and I appreciate you showing up. And that goes for everybody that's been commenting. Let's take a brief look at that. I don't know who's Rob Lee. It must be one of your followers, Ben.
I know Rob, yeah.
And of course, Susan Joy, and been a lot of people commenting. We Wake, Bill Graham. So Thomas Love, thank you. It's the first time there. That must be one of your followers too, Ben.
I guess so, yeah. I know a couple of Thomas Loves.
All right, so I really appreciate that. You were wondering if we can tell how many people are watching. We have 16 people watching right now, and that's a pretty good record for the Smarties show, that's for sure. Well, the conversation has been superb, and we were talking about marketing strategists and the whole concept of the letting go of the concept of got to get my money back or got to get a return, got to get compensated, ROI, and the whole focus on that. How did you come to the focus of I want to call myself a marketing strategist, and what does that mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know how I can answer the first bit. I just, I'm somebody that is driven to explore why things work, what works and why. And, that's a never ending quest. So, I looked at how do you get traffic? I looked at how you convert and persuade and influence people. And, some of the stuff that I found I didn't like and just didn't fit for me. And I think what I realized is that eventually, when I really broke it down, and I did this, I've got this free strategy course. So if you go on to opensourcemarketingproject.org, is it, or .com? Can't remember. On open source marketing free strategy course, and I break it down into these 5 elements that in fact, what it was, I was sitting down with a friend several years ago, and I said, Mark, how this thing that we do when we look at a client's business or we look at a client's site and we can see what's missing or what they're not doing or what they're doing wrong or what they're not doing enough of or what they're doing too much of. And he went, yeah. And I said, how do we do that? And he said, I don't know. Wow. And I thought, well, okay, so we opened a bottle of wine, and then at the bottom of that bottle of wine, we still didn't have an answer. So I thought, I'm gonna go away and figure it out. And I've got my favorite tools, my favorite marketing tools, which is pencil and paper. And I sat down And I was determined to figure it out. And I said, well, what is it? What is this thing that we do? And I came down with these 5 things that I ended up calling the circuit, which is you, your brand, the products and services that you sell, the people that you sell it to, the problem that they have, and then in the middle, what joins it all together is the proposition. That is the promise of how your product is going to solve their problem. And that's proved really useful to me. So, and then what I realized is that, like you were saying, Roland, strategy is it's not a portable thing. Strategy is always, so what do we mean by strategy? Strategy means is, what should I do in order to achieve this particular marketing goal or business goal or life goal, whatever it is? It's like, what's at the highest level, what's the approach I need to take? And in marketing, it might be, do I need to be working my YouTube channel? Do I need to be on Instagram? Should I be building an email list, putting out free ebooks? What is it? We've got so many choices in front of us and you can't do them all. And if you try, you'll never sleep. And if you try even doing 10% of it, you'll never sleep and you'll still do it badly because you won't be any good. And this is what I love about what you say about, publish with your tripod, publish online, communicate through social media and be on YouTube. Focus on doing a few things well. You don't want to be a Swiss Army knife, The Swiss Army knife, it's got 40 different tools on it and they're all bad. It's got a poor knife, a poor saw, a poor magnifying lens, a poor screwdriver. It's not good at any of those things. It's useful, for particular times, but you don't want to be one of those things. You don't want to be bad at lots of things. Just be good at a few. So strategy is the process of figuring out what it is you should do in the first place, so that you don't waste lots of energy. Because I'll tell you, in internet marketing, if you want to do marketing, or you want to do marketing online, let's say, there's people out there that will tell you, and I scroll down Facebook and I get mad, if you're still doing this, then you might as well be burning your money or flushing it down the toilet or whatever. It's like, no, stop saying that to people. Stop it. Stop that right now. It's like, no, you cannot sit there and say that webinars are the only way to make money these days. It's like, I get so angry because it comes down completely to your context. So and the other thing, it makes me sound like I get pissed off at a lot of things, and I suppose I do, but
you and me, brother.
I'll live with that. This other thing that pisses me off, people say, I'm going to give you my exact strategy or my exact strategy for how you can. It's like, well, okay, you take a strategy that worked in situation A, right? And you go and put it in situation B and it don't work, right? Latest things, funnels. Don't get me started on funnel marketing is now the biggest thing. It's like, we used to call it campaigns and stuff like that. Now it's all funnel this, funnel that. People say, I want to steal this funnel for this particular thing. And you can't, because it comes down to, those 5 elements. Who are you? And who are you really? And why should people care? Why should people trust you? That's going to vary from person to person. The products and services you offer, you can't take a funnel that worked for one kind of, fitness program and go and use it to sell dent repair tools. It's just not going to work, right? And people get upset. And I've been on, there's a ClickFunnels support group on Facebook. And this guy said, I followed this funnel design thing to the letter and nobody bought my stuff. And I'm sitting here spitting at the screen, I've got wiping breakfast cereal off the screen saying, because you can't, that's not what marketing's about. Marketing is about first, understand the ecology, understand who you are, what problem you're solving, and how you can solve that problem in a unique, beautiful, powerful way, right? And be distinctive about it, know exactly who your prospect is and speak directly into their heart. And, and then once you know all of these things, you know what you want to say, what promise you want to make, how they're going to respond in an emotional way, in a happy way. then what I find is that when you state those facts, the choice of channels and methods and techniques becomes a lot simpler and clearer. And you know that, you know, if there are some areas where video is absolutely perfect, and there are some areas where video might suck, right? For doing these things, there are some areas where, you know, like very simple things. If people know what their problem is, and they are looking for a solution, then pay-per-click can work and SEO can work. If you are trying to reach people who don't yet know they've got a problem that you're solving, don't bother with SEO and pay-per-click, because they're not typing it into bloody Google. So you have to go out. If you're trying to reach people who don't yet know they've got the problem that you're offering to solve for them, you have to go out to them. You have to go and find them where they congregate. And it ain't on Google, right? Simple things. If the journey that they have to take from that first experience with you is very, very long, then you're going to need a course or even a book. You know, I've worked with people who have written books that thick, which is essentially your sales message, because that is the size of the journey that they have to go on. You know, 400 pages from where they start to being ready to go, yeah, I want to hire this guy, you know. But it's all down to context. So, you know, the idea that you can take a strategy and apply it somewhere else, it's like, well, you know, okay, I'm going to take the strategy that helped, you know, person A to find the love of his life and marry her, and I'm going to copy exactly what he did in this relationship. It's insane.
I agree totally. And when we were talking about that, it reminded me of how many 7-step foolproof formulas that I've seen from years gone by to like today. They're still using the concept, 10 steps to build your success, the 5 easy ways that you have to do to make your $1 million, you know, outcome. And it's like, there's no way that they can guarantee your results. And they'll even have the fine print say that. But in the dialogue, other than the fine print, the dialogue implies that you're going to get rich, that you're going to get all these clients, that you're going to get higher paying clients, that you're going to get X number of clients per month. And it's like, I'm looking at that going, that is pure BS. You cannot say that you might be Mr. Nobody, but tomorrow you'll have clients. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
even the most gratuitous ones are the ones where they're actually naming their course like Internet Millionaire Lifestyle. It's like, I'm going to show you how you can set up your own internet business. So, what's an internet business? What are you on about? Who wakes up in the morning and thinks, I know what, I want an internet business? It's insane. It's like people. And what they're tapping into the desire, the natural desire that human beings have, which is to, you know, get the results that you want with less work, i.e. a shortcut, right? You know, everyone loves a shortcut. Everyone wants a magic diet pill that's going to make you thin, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, I think, you know, if there's anything that we can do individually, it's just like, let's drop this if we can, you know. And I don't know what's involved, what work is involved with yourself, but let's drop the desire, this addiction to shortcuts, and let's say, okay, like, I don't want the. I wrote a blog post a few years ago called "Get Rich Slow."
Oh wow!
Which I thought was, it just came into my mind, and I thought, you know, that's the thing. And you know what? Here's one thing. I bet all of us have looked back and gone, oh, do you know, if I'd got into, you know, buying and selling domain names, which is something that, again, I hate. But, you know, if I'd only got into buying and selling domain names like 20 years ago, I'd have been rich. Or if I'd have, and the thing for me is, now I started a blog in 2004 called Web Design from Scratch. 2004. And I recently sold the website because I wasn't able to give it the attention I needed. But I know, looking back, if I'd have stuck to that, and it was getting, within a couple of years, it was getting over 5,000 visits a day.
Whoa.
To that thing. And you know, all I was doing, I was taking the knowledge that I had that was fairly unique, that stuff I'd figured out about what makes web pages work. And I was just writing tutorials because I was stuck on a train for 3 hours every day. And I just wrote these tutorials and put them out there, and people loved it. But it was getting thousands and thousands of visits, like 150,000 visits a month type of thing. And if I could go back in time, you know, I could have made a massive fortune out of that. And I didn't. But the point is, all of us have got these things where we look back with the benefit of hindsight and we go, if only I'd stuck to that thing. If only I'd, you know, figured out that thing I'm good at and that thing I loved and that people, you know, need. And if I just stuck to that and got really, really good at it. I've got friends who've done things like, you know, writing reviews of online casinos, you know, and this friend who he stuck to that for a year. And then after a year, people were paying to fly him around the world to these events because he stuck to his one thing. He was really, really good and really dedicated at that one thing, right? Now, so the point is that, you know, we all know there are these things that if we'd stuck to it, we'd have been good. Where am I going with this point? I think I got carried away with it. What was I talking about before?
Well, I don't know. I was really stepping with you on the journey there. Yeah. I tell you what, though, you're delivering a wealth of knowledge here, and I wanted to step out of the particular lane that you're in, but go on a similar lane. I wanted to bring up 3 points out of 5 of a post that you made once. This is part of a post that you made, and you named 3 things that are really, really it's really indelibly etched in my mind as far as how I feel about my own marketing and what I feel about marketing in general. And you made these comments, and there was first, there are patterns in marketing that have always proven to work. They worked for time and time again. And then the second thing was, second, they don't always work. Sometimes proven patterns fail. And third, smart marketers know that surprisingly often doing exactly the opposite of the current best practice can be incredibly successful. And so, I mean, that brings to mind all these things you say about being a strategist. You have to figure out and customize exactly what is needed per situation. And you can't take what works in one scenario and make it work in another. It just doesn't work. And I'm really, really glad to hear that. And that's part of the reason I stopped building websites, because people had a result in mind. They think that just having the website is going to bring the result. I said, no, a website is a starting point, but you're going to have to put together a campaign. And there's no set formula. There's no pattern. There's no 7 easy steps. There's nothing like that. So,
yeah.
And
the path before you has not been, you know, is not set. Nobody has done it because nobody has ever been in the exact situation you're in at this period of time. And I think just to sum up, the point I was trying to remember earlier on was really just that, you know, if we look back at the things we should have stuck at, you know, you can regret it and resent it and whatever. But the lesson in all of that is stick at what you're really good at. No, and the main thing is being you. Yeah, be yourself, because everyone else is taken. Don't be distracted by what everyone else around you is doing, or everyone else around you says works, or the shortcuts and the magic beans that they're selling. You know, ignore that stuff. It won't necessarily work for you. But marketing it's a very scientific. You have to be like a scientist and a mystic in marketing, because you have to imagine, you know, what do you really feel is going to work right now for people? And you have to put things out there, and you have to be bold, and you have to test, and you have to risk, and you have to experiment. And then you have to learn and be honest with yourself, brutally honest. Did this work? Didn't it work? Why not? Why did it? all that stuff, and try and leave the ego behind to some extent and just say it's just a ride. Nobody knows.
Absolutely.
Figure it out as you go.
Miraculously, we are at the top of the hour, and I was going to prep us maybe 5 or 10 minutes out, but all of a sudden it's the top of the hour, and I know that we could keep talking for even longer, but I just wanted to put it out there and see what the comments happen in the next couple minutes, and please be watching, Tim, to see if anybody would like to join us in the green room. Ben has agreed to stick around for a few minutes and maybe meet some of you and just enjoy your company too. And you can ask him some questions directly. I see a Sharon Smith. Oh, Sharon. We know Sharon, don't we?
Yeah.
And Liz Sanders joined us. And there's again Kathy Pop. And Thomas Law. I really appreciate all the comments. I'm going to go back over them later because one thing that Tim made really clear, when you're having a conversation and trying to conduct an interview or a show like this, it's impossible for me to really keep track of all the comments, which I'd love to do that. That's why he is so important backing me up here. But I really appreciate the comments and the participation of everybody out there. And that's what makes this show so special. And we've maintained 15 and 16 people throughout this show, which is pretty dynamic, pretty good, because we held their attention. So they wanted to hear what you had to say, Ben. And it's not because I built them up so perfectly, but I really thank you for being here today. And we're going to be wrapping it up soon. Do we have anything else that we missed, Tim? Or did you have anything that you would like to contribute as we wrap up the show?
There's quite a bit. I would like to ask that sometime soon that Ben go into the comments on the website and address some of the things we weren't able to bring up on the screen and everything. I know that the viewers will appreciate it, and he seems like the type of guy that would enjoy doing that as well.
Well, you got your work cut out for you, Ben.
I'll be happy to do that. That's great.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, this sounds really good. Did we miss any comments, or we're in pretty good shape, Tim?
There's quite a few. That's why I mentioned about bringing them in. There was a lot of positive feedback about people really appreciating the information and enjoying it. All of us are very appreciative that you were able to join us today and deliver such poignant, helpful information.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Your last comments wrapped up a lot of stuff. But is there anything that we ran right over and didn't allow you to say or do? And we've already commented that after we finish here, stay tuned, because I'm going to be flashing the information on how to contact Ben right after we get through here. And but anyway, I'll let you wrap it up, possibly.
I think we pretty much said it. Ignore the magic beans that anyone is trying to tell you. There are no real shortcuts. Be yourself. Know what you want. Know what you're about. Just tell the truth about all of that kind of stuff, and just go out there and do it and keep pushing it. Because if you only focus on the activities that you can prove will give you a return, then you're really narrowing down your world. There's so much, there's way more out there that we can't prove. There's way more out there that we don't even know about. So just take it easy. Be yourself. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
Be yourself. Absolutely. And by the way, if Jack is selling beans, don't buy the beans, because the beanstalk's not going to work. So
yeah,
listen, we're going to say goodbye now from Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, and I really appreciate everyone being here. And thank you, Ben Hunt, for being our focused interviewee today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Now, and all you people out there, thanks a lot for participating in Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Bye-bye now. Okay. Oh, I forgot to shut off the show.